Everybody exhale. Exhale, everybody. Do it with me. Come on. Whoo! What a Premier League season we're having, and a fantastic weekend. A ridiculous Sunday ends with Manchester City 3, Tottenham 3. Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur kept climbing back up from that hole, trying to get that point, and that point they did. A lot of talking points, a lot of discussions regarding injuries. Mark Ogden will join us later. Luis Miguel Echegaray here, ESPN FC Live. Joining me is Janusz Michalek. Janusz, give me your initial reaction from that entertaining, dramatic 3-3 draw between Man City and Tottenham.
Well, a lot of goals today. Defending's at a premium just about everywhere today, and this one in particular, which I get to because it's an important part of this Manchester City that we can't overlook. But in general, this game reminded me a little bit of Manchester City against Liverpool in the last game at home, right? I mean, first half, Liverpool had just about the same issues as Spurs in terms of dealing with the pressure. In the second half, they fixed it a little bit. And so the Spurs, not just with the substitution of Højbjerg for Hill, physically, obviously, he's still not there, even though I think on that first goal, he played a good part. And then in time, they stuck with it. I think, even if you look at the stats between this game and Manchester City against Liverpool, they're very similar in terms of possession, 60-40 or thereabout. I mean, both Liverpool and Spurs had 0.5 XG for those that love it. The main difference is that in that game against Liverpool, I don't think City created as many clear-cut chances. And you remember Haaland, missing a sitter early on, and Doku hitting the crossbar, but that really should have been a goal. So in general, what I like about this, that, Ange Postecoglou stuck with his principles and almost didn't get him there because they shouldn't have probably come back in this game and should have lost it, but they didn't. And, the message to the players is the same. Rather than 4 close games being lost, right? And that's the flip side. And we would have been talking about that. Is that prudent to play that way? Now, I think his players believe, even though they've lost 3 and now drew away to City, they're thinking, if we recover some of those players, we're at top of the league by 4 or 5 points in October. Obviously, we've lost so many key players to injuries, but yet we still know how to play football, attacking football that everybody wants to watch. And we now know that once we get the players together, we're capable of just about anything.
Capable of just about anything. And of course, showing some defensive vulnerabilities as human son giveth and taketh away as well, with that great opening goal with the counter. But then Man City equalized, Phil Foden got one, and then the game just developed and developed. There's a lot going on here, Janusz Michalek. So let's bring in Mark Ogden, because we never know how temperamental the Man City Wi-Fi can be. So let's bring in Augie straight away. Just the initial sentiment, I guess, Augie, from you and what you're feeling around the stadium as Tottenham rescue that point against Man City.
I thought you were saying I was a temperamental one for a minute then, Bellamy. But no, the general sense at the end is one of injustice, I think, from the Man City fans, because the situation at the end in the stoppage time when Grealish looked like it broke and clear, but the referee pulled it back for a foul on Haaland, that kind of dominated the sense at the end. It was that City being denied a victory, but great game. Tottenham's done great to come back and get a point out of this game. But yeah, I think post-match you'll probably hear Guardiola complain about the decision by Simon Hooper to stop play. I think Grealish would have been clear, but because that happened right at the end, that's why it seems significant. But I think overall, Tottenham probably just about deserve to get a point out of it for their readiness to fight back and just get something out of the game. And I think for me, City's issue now is that 8 goals conceded in the last 3 games. They have got an issue defensively. I think primarily it's at fullback, but all over the back 4, they're not defending well. So it does give hope to the rest that City can be overhauled this year. And they've got Villa away next. No Rodri suspended, so maybe that they might drop more points at Villa Park.
Janusz, were you? Let's break down, I guess, the overall sentiment from Man City's side, because even though they're scoring goals, we have been talking about the fact that this season, over the course of this season, they have looked vulnerable defensively, and they showed it today. Do you think that this is a much happier Ange Postecoglou just because of how they took advantage? Could Man City have done more specifically, from a defensive standpoint?
Well, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, the stats don't lie. I mean, historically, Manchester City have been the best defensive team in the league over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, they just really don't concede. I mean, 10 goals conceded in the last 4 games in all competitions, right? 16 goals already in the Premier League. When were the times where them and Liverpool conceded like 6 or 7 or whatever it was, 8 the entire season? And a plethora of good players, but they're all center backs, right? And, Pep Guardiola can tell me that Guardiola could be a decent wide player. I mean, today in the 3, I suppose, but we all know that he isn't. Brennan Johnson showed that in the first half on a couple occasions. So I think it's just a question of Pep figuring it out what the best connection is, right? He's talking about Nathan Ake and the fact that he can't play every 3 days, even though he's been probably the best when he does play, because he can play at left back, he can play center back, bring the ball out of the back and attack as well. Ruben Dias showed glimpses of being good today, but still not at his best by any chance. I suppose when John Stones comes back, it's going to make a difference. So that's the main idea, because look, I mean, now is the time to take advantage of that, because you can look at the 3 draws against good teams, but I'm looking at the schedule now for City. Okay, Villa, as Mark said, is going to be difficult without Grealish and Rodri, and we all know about Rodri, right? I mean, they've lost like 3, I think, when he was suspended. But after that, aside from Zvezda in the Champions League, Palace, Everton, Sheffield United for the rest of the year until they meet Newcastle, and it's only 3 points difference. So look, I mean, have anybody taken advantage of that? I doubt it, but there's definitely reasons to worry for Manchester City, because they're not taking advantage of the opportunities they have, even against Liverpool. But as I've mentioned today, even bigger ones, especially early on after it was 1-1. But I have a feeling with that talent defensively, they'll figure it out. When they do, once again, they're going to be overwhelming favorites to win it.
Yeah, I do think as well teams are more willing to take City on this season. Certainly, Chelsea did, Liverpool did, Tottenham did. I think Villa will as well. I think Villa will give them a real go at Villa Park. But like Yannis says, you look at the fixtures after that. If Everton, if Sheffield United, if Palace, maybe Palace might have a chance. But if Everton and Sheffield United have a go, it's going to be quite messy for those. I think City will put 4 or 5 past them. So the best teams are able to have a go at City, get some reward out of it. Arsenal beat them as well this season. So maybe it's down to the big 6, the top 6 clubs of Newcastle and United to get the results against City that pulls them back, that enables one of the other big 6 clubs to win the league. But I don't see City struggling against the smaller teams, less well kind of resource teams, should we say. But I do think that this year teams are being a bit more proactive against City. But I think Villa is the last game we'll see for a while where that'll happen, because after that, you've got a lot of games that Yannis says that City will win quite easily.
Well, let's stay focused on one particular issue. You mentioned, obviously, Rodri, after picking 5 yellow cards, he's out for the next game. Jack Grealish, too, though I think that's mainly because he just wants to sit with his family at Villa Park. But the third,
he doesn't want to get booed at Villa Park.
He won't even get in. Jeremy Doku, though, Oggy, and then Janusz, I'll ask you to jump in after this. But Oggy, straight away, Jeremy Doku, a worry, came off, went straight into the tunnel. If he's out for a while, how much of a hindrance is that for Pep Guardiola?
Yeah, it's a big one, because at the time, Guardiola was really, well, I won't say he was angry with Grealish, but he was very animated with Grealish to say, hurry up and get ready, because Doku had an issue. So it was something that came out of nothing. So he's obviously got an injury that they're worrying about. Doku's been great. He's been a real provider. So no Doku, no Grealish, but certainly for one game, they have got options. Let's be honest. They can put Foden down the left. They can put, Alvarez and Haaland up top. I don't think it's a massive blow, but it's a blow in the extent that he's been a good player for City. He's been a great signing. So they have got options, though. That is the one thing, that City losing players is not quite as significant as other teams losing players. But, Villa away without Rodri, without Grealish, that poses a challenge, especially if Doku's missing as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they go this week, because City's squad is deep, but it's not deep enough that it can't accommodate losing players like that.
Janusz?
Your question about the misses? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to add. I mean, Bernardo Silva, you saw it in the second half. I mean, last season, remember how great he was on the right-hand side, especially in the Champions League. So he can play there. Rico Lewis can play anywhere. You can pull Alvarez. I don't think it's a worry. The worry is, again, how quickly teams put it together. This is the time, as we've seen it. I mean, look, Liverpool's there. We've seen what happened today. I mean, that wasn't all that pretty, and perhaps a little bit lucky, those 2 late goals to get results. Arsenal, very, very impressive, but they left a little bit of doubt, in how they gave away control. But Arsenal are for real. We need to talk about him because I think this is a team that continually is making progress and continually is getting better and better. And this time they believe because they did beat Manchester City. Remember last year we were, how far Arsenal were from City, and we're still saying, you know what, they didn't play them yet. Because remember that I think it was rescheduled that one game where they played both in a cup game in the second half of the season. So we always kind of waited for that. And City, of course, have proven that. I think they won all three, didn't they? So that's different psychologically for them. And right now it looks tight, but this is the time where everything will shake out because you're going to have to really, for every team, and that includes Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, Newcastle, who are doing tremendously well. And a lot of these teams will pay the price in the next month. They will pay the price. If they don't have issues yet, they're going to start to have them. And the last thing you want to do is to allow City to get themselves together, because when that happens, then I think your problems are going to be way, way bigger than the problems that City have.
Okay, before you go, because I know there's a few things going on over there. You got to write for our website as well. Let's give a little love to Tottenham. No Cuti Romero serving the last match of his suspension. No James Maddison, right? Richarlison used only in case of emergency, which is what Postecoglou had to do at the very end, and they come away at the Etihad with a point. It's pretty remarkable, yes.
Yeah, but fourth. In the defence tonight. So we're talking about City having, 4 centre halves. Spurs the other way. So a makeshift defence against, the most formidable attacking team in the country with, Haaland always on the shoulder. So a great result. And I think, after the Chelsea defeat, Spurs have been on a slippery slope because of those injuries. Mickey van der Ven as well has been a really big sign for this year. And he's been missing as well. So, to come here and get a result is a real big thing for Tottenham. I think it will give them that lift. And they've got a tricky period ahead. I think you've got Newcastle coming up as well, which is a big game, in terms of the top 6. But Spurs there's something about Tottenham, and whether it's a Postecoglou thing or he's got a real tenacity, and they have got one of the most undervalued stars of the Premier League is in Heung-min Son. I think he's an amazing player, and he would grace, Man City's team, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, you name it. He's a sensational player, and Tottenham are, very lucky to have him because he probably has an opportunity to leave Tottenham in the past. And I think he was a big part of the Harry Kane, situation at Spurs in terms of all the goals he scored. But I think the fact that Son is still there is a massive thing for Tottenham because he's a world-class player, and he showed it again today. Great goal, and he gave City no end of trouble all day. And I think while he's fit and scoring goals, Spurs have got a chance of staying in touch with the top 6.
Well, Augie, it's a pleasure having you, my friend. I want you to get home safe. You are never temperamental, not to me anyway. I don't know what's going on at home, but maybe that's the case. But thank you so much for being here. Have a great trip back. Make sure to follow Mark Ogden on social and, of course, ESPN.com. Augie, thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, Augie.
Cheers, guys.
All right. So it's just Janusz and yours truly. Janusz, Erling Haaland. Was it a real off day? Defensive prowess from Tottenham? What do you make of it?
No, I thought he was fine today. I don't think. I mean, he was busy, right? I mean, towards the end, on that goal. I mean, the decision that was disallowed, involvement on the third goal as well. I thought he was actually busier than usual because normally he'll score a goal. And then we often say, well, but he had five touches. Today, I think he was more involved in the build-up, a little bit livelier. Obviously, had that chance early on. I think in the 13th minute when he missed that sitter when Bernardo Silva played that ball from out left. But I don't think it was an issue of Erling Haaland today. It was just an issue of not finishing number of chances. And again, I think this is more of a story about Spurs than Manchester City, because I don't worry about Manchester City. I mean, they're going to play the way they play, and they have so much talent. We've seen that goal, the third goal, even second goal, where just really, I mean, the Foden goals, they walked it in, just the perfect. If you imagine Manchester City is the type of goal that you say, wow, and they're capable of doing that 3 or 4 times a game. So I don't think that's an issue at all. That's not going to go away. It's going to get better when Kevin De Bruyne comes back and some of the, key players are finally just have their concentration on the league, which is now. So I don't worry about that. Defensively, we've talked about. I think just Spurs surprised them a little bit, and what a powerful message, isn't it, from Ange Postecoglou to his players? Lose that. which they were very close to, and you're talking about 4 lost games in a row. And yes, okay, it's City, it's Villa, it's Chelsea, Wolves, but I just think that today, he kind of said, stick with me. You're going to be happy. You're going to love the way we play. People aren't going to question the draws and losses as much as you normally do because of the way of playing and because the players that we're missing. So, this message may go a long, long way. Like Augie said, I'm going to wait a little bit because they have West Ham and Newcastle next, but both games are at home, right? They're going to start recovering players slowly. We saw Richarlison on the bench already. And I just think that this message is so powerful that, I mean, just think about it under Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte. If we were here now, this City result aside, but 3 straight losses and a draw. I mean, when you think about it, that's a lot of points lost from a team that was at the top of the league. But then again, nobody expected Spurs to be at the top of the league and to have such a great start to the season as they did. Nobody, right? We're talking about revivals. We're looking at Chelsea, who spent so much money. We're looking at Manchester United. We look at Arsenal, that took them 3, 4, 5 years to get to where they are right now. Ange Postecoglou and the Spurs team did it overnight. Let's be honest here. And today, to me, that's the most powerful message. I mean, could Haaland play better? Yeah, but you know what's going to happen next game. He's going to get his 1, 2, or 3, and that's never going to end. He's going to defend himself by scoring goals, right?
In a season that's ridiculously competitive. And as I just read you the table, everybody, Arsenal leading with 33 points, Liverpool with 31, Man City with 30, Villa with 29 points, Tottenham follow after that, 27, Newcastle 26, Manchester United 24. Only 4 points separate first and fourth. Only 7 points separate fourth and 8. That's pretty tight. And as we mentioned this weekend, it's the tightest race since Leicester City won the Premier League back then. Give me your biggest talking point or something else that you would like to talk about as we wrap up. Not this game, obviously Man City on 3-0, but you mentioned Arsenal earlier on. How did you see anything else from the Premier League this weekend, Yannis?
No, I'm sticking with this. Arsenal is the biggest talking point. We got to take them seriously. They are the best team in the Premier League right now, and not just by the virtue of sitting up there. Look, we can talk about what may happen in the future. We can talk about potential of Manchester City. I still believe that they're overall, when you look at the squad and when everything works their way, they'll probably win it, but we don't know that. I can't look into the crystal ball. All I see is facts, and not just that they're at the top because they were the last season, but I didn't think they were complete. But you're talking about a team just like City in the past and Liverpool for a couple of years, best defense in the league, scored plenty of goals, top in the Champions League where they're what? Second best, maybe defensively as well, or maybe the best, somewhere out there. Maybe Real Sociedad. And you look at the first half, I wish almost, to make my point, I wish almost that the second half didn't happen yesterday. But they were breathtaking yesterday, what they were doing. So I just think in terms of just getting better game by game, season by season, week by week, whatever you want to call it, this is an Arsenal team that we kind of shortchanged over and over and over again because we keep on thinking that City this, City that. But maybe, just as much as we believe that City are the deepest and the best in the way they play and have the best manager in the world, Pep Guardiola, maybe it's no coincidence that they've conceded so many goals. Maybe things aren't right, and maybe it's going to take time. And quite possibly, maybe a team like Arsenal or maybe even Liverpool can take advantage of that. But at the moment, without looking into the future, because we do this every week, Manchester City this, Manchester City that, you have to say that Arsenal are worthy leaders in the Premier League.
We talked about this very point last season, though, and then what happened? So what's the difference this season, would you say?
Well, as I was telling you, part of it was that they, remember there were some postponed games. City and Arsenal never met till the second half of the season. Remember, the first one, am I getting this wrong, was postponed. I mean, they played like 3 times within a month or month and a half in the second season. So psychologically, that was always weighing on them. I think City had 2 or 3 games in hand. So you have to respect that. Now you go and blow for blow. And as I said, defense, what are some of the things that we've always said about Arsenal since they're fall, if you will, after Arsene Wenger or maybe the best years, right? Lack of character. Well, that character is there. Lack of spine certainly is there. Saliba in the center of defense, one of the best center backs in the league. Some will say he's the best. Look at Declan Rice. Look at what the difference he's made. You look at 3 or 4 players in front that we've said, what if Gabriel Jesus gets injured? He did, no problems, right? And Nketiah did his job. What if Martinelli gets injured? No problem. They withstood that. What about Odegaard? Because he's such a brain and a captain. Well, he didn't play a couple games, and they still lived. And even Saka missed a game or two, and he continues to be in the best of form. So I just think you look at the team defensively, you look at the team right now, how well they play. I just think that they're evolving and they're starting to believe. And again, up until this season, they have never beat Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. Well, we know now that just a couple of weeks ago, they did that. It doesn't change much, but those little details sometimes make a difference. So don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and telling you that Arsenal are going to win the Premier League. What I'm here telling you is that we conveniently overlook them simply because I think we recognize and appreciate how good Manchester City are. But there are times when, you drop points, you drop goals, and things may not go your way. And there's always someone that can take advantage of that. And all I'm saying is that at the moment, Arsenal is showing that they're very much capable of taking advantage of Manchester City if they don't get their stuff together soon.
And they're going to have to keep doing so. As we mentioned, this is a very tight title race. Liverpool, by the way, winning 4-3 in a thrilling match against Fulham. So the table is as is. Arsenal lead the table at the end of this weekend. But we have entered December, everybody, where the matches are coming in thick and fast. Thank you to Mark Ogden from Emirates Stadium. The Etihad, I'm sorry. See, we'll keep talking Arsenal, and I just said Emirates. It's one brand or the other. I got confused. But thank you, Mark Ogden from the Etihad. Thank you, Janusz Michalek, Luis Miguel Echegaray. Don't forget, ESPN FC Live continues next week. Of course, Janusz Michalek, yours truly, and many, many more, talking more Premier League as we continue this crazy month in the most entertaining league in the world. I'll say it right there. Thank you, everybody. Have a great end to your Sunday. Till then, bye-bye.